There are moments when life pauses, when you walk into a room, and though no one says a word, something is already decided. Power has shifted silently, invisibly. You feel it in your chest, like a whisper you can't quite name. In that moment, you are either predator or prey. And if you are prey, you never know it until it's too late. The world is not gentle. It is not fair. It is not waiting to cradle your softness. Instead, it studies you, weighs you, tests you. The people you meet, the eyes that watch you, the conversations that seem harmless. All of them are measuring one thing. Are you a force to reckon with, or are you safe to consume? Machiavelli understood this. He knew that the battlefield of life is not drawn in obvious lines, is hidden in tone, in silence, in the subtleties of how you carry yourself. Weakness does not always roar. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it apologizes. Sometimes it tries too hard to be loved. And in doing so, it becomes a beacon. You walk through life believing kindness will protect you. That humility will earn you respect. That openness will make others trust you. But to the calculating mind, these are not virtues. They are signals, silent flares in the dark. They say this one can be bent. This one will not resist. This one is prey. And here lies the cruel paradoxy. The very traits you were taught would make you safe are often the ones that make you hunted. Pause for a moment. Think back to the times you explained yourself to someone who never cared to understand. Think of when you bent backward for someone who gave nothing in return. Think of the conversations where your silence would have been stronger than your words. That's the first truth you must face. The game begins before you even realize you are playing it. Every glance you offer, every tone you use, every confession you spill into the world, it all teaches others how to treat you. And once someone senses that you need something from them, understanding, validation, approval, you hand them the keys to your cage. It's not about morality. It's not about fairness. It's about leverage. And leverage belongs to the one who can live without being understood, the one who can sit in silence and let the world lean in, desperate to know more. The predator does not announce itself. It waits. It observes. It lets you reveal yourself until you are naked in your honesty. And then it moves. So here's where the transformation begins. Not in changing who you are, in stripping away the signals that tell the world you are safe to manipulate. Still yourself. Listen closely. The first weakness is already woven into the fabric of your being. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. The first weakness is the most seductive, the one you don't even realize you're carrying. It is the hunger to be understood. Most people spend their entire lives chasing this. To be seen, to be heard, to be validated. To have someone say, yes, I know you, I get you, you matter. And so you explain, you reveal. You open your soul like a book, hoping someone will finally read it with care. You pour words into silence, thinking that more detail, more honesty, more confession will finally win you the respect you crave. But here is the Machiavellian truth. The more you try to explain yourself, the weaker you look. Every explanation is an admission. An admission that your value is not self-evident. That your truth is not solid enough to stand without defense. That you need the permission of others to exist as you are. And once someone senses this in you, the game is no longer equal. They know exactly where to strike. They withhold the very thing you crave. They give you silence when you long for response. They give you doubt when you long for reassurance. And like a moth to a flame, you chase them. You talk more. You reveal more. You confess more. All the while, they sit back and learn. Every word you spill is a map to your fears, your dreams, your insecurities. And the predator does not waste a map. Pause here. Breathe. Think of the last time you explained yourself to someone who had already made up their mind about you. Did your words change them, or did you only feel smaller once you were done? This is why Machiavelli spoke of silence as power, mystery as leverage, the one who can withhold, who can let their presence speak without desperate explanation, holds the invisible crown. Neuroscience has revealed something fascinating here. When you withhold information, when you allow silence to hang in the air, the other person's brain lights up with curiosity. The absence of detail creates tension. It makes you the center of their attention. When you give everything away, when you leave no mystery, the brain stops searching. You have given them closure. And closure kills power. Quantum physics whispers the same truth in a different tongue. The observer shapes the observed. The less defined you are, the more possibilities you hold. The moment you collapse into one version of yourself, endlessly explaining, endlessly justifying, you kill all other versions. You shrink into something predictable, something controllable. But when you remain undefined, when you master the art of restraint, you become dangerous. You cannot be pinned down. You cannot be mapped. You are no longer a target. You are a force. So here is your choice. Do you want to be understood, or do you want to be powerful? Because rarely are they the same thing. The second weakness wears the mask of virtue. It is praised in scriptures, in schools, in families. And yet, when wielded without balance, it is the leash that keeps you crawling instead of walking. It is excessive humility. Humility, in its pure form, is strength. It is the ability to see beyond yourself, to learn to adapt. But when humility becomes submission, when it turns into the constant lowering of your head, the world does not see nobility. It sees permission. Permission to ignore you, permission to bypass you, permission to step over you. You've been told that pride is dangerous, that arrogance destroys. And yes, unchecked ego is poison. But Machiavelli would argue that humility without a backbone is far deadlier. Because it convinces you that shrinking makes you safe, that if you just stay small, no one will notice you, no one will harm you. But life does not spare the small. Predators hunt the weakest first. Think of the times you dismissed your own accomplishments so others wouldn't feel insecure. Think of the moments you stayed silent when every bone in your body told you to speak. Think of when you let someone take credit for your work because you didn't want to seem difficult. Each of those moments etched a mark on you, and others saw it. They remembered not your talent, not your sacrifice, but your willingness to bow. There is a reason ancient kings wore crowns, carried scepters, and sat on thrones elevated above the crowd. It was not merely vanity. It was symbolism. The crown told the world, I do not kneel. I do not hide. I am here, visible, undeniable. Modern life is no different. Your posture, your tone, the way you occupy space, all of it signals whether you stand tall or cower in shadows. And the world responds accordingly. Neuroscience shows us that posture affects chemistry. When you slump, when you shrink, your body releases cortisol, the hormone of stress. When you expand, when you stand firm, your body produces testosterone, the hormone of presence, dominance, power. Your biology itself conspires to keep you in or out of the predator's sights. The quantum truth mirrors this. The energy you radiate collapses probabilities around you. If your energy whispers, I am small, I am lesser, the universe confirms it. If your energy declares, I take up space, I exist with force, the universe rearranges itself to match. So understand this, humility without strength is not a virtue. It is a weakness wrapped in silk. To survive, to rise, to command respect, you must learn balance. Bow only when you choose to. Lower your head only when strategy demands it. But never let humility become your prison. Because the predator is always watching, and it knows the bowed head will never resist the blade. The third weakness is the most human of all. The one etched deepest into your biology. It is the desperation to belong. From the moment you were born, survival depended on it. As an infant, you cried not for luxury, but for connection. A mother's warmth, a tribe's protection, the safety of being seen as part of something larger than yourself. To be cast out meant death. To be accepted meant life. Thousands of years later, your brain has not forgotten. The hunger to belong still pulses in your veins. It shows up in your longing to fit in, your hesitation to offend, your fear of standing alone. And this is where the trap tightens, because the one who craves belonging the most is the easiest to control. Consider this: the group rarely accepts rebels immediately. They test them first, push. They prod. They see how far the outsider will bend to be welcomed. And in those moments of testing, most people fold. They soften their voice, dull their edges, laugh at jokes they despise, swallow truths that burn in their throat. All for one thing: to stay inside the circle. Machiavelli would smirk at this. Because he understood what few dare to admit: the one who kneels for belonging loses the very thing that could make them irreplaceable: individuality. The manipulator knows this instinctively. They know you will sacrifice authenticity for acceptance. So they dangle approval like bait, a smile, a nod, a withheld invitation. Suddenly, your worth feels like it hangs on their recognition. And without realizing, you trade your power for a seat at their table. Pause here. Think of the times you betrayed yourself just to be liked. Think of the times you said, yes, when everything inside screamed, no. Did it make you stronger? Or did it only teach others that your loyalty could be purchased cheaply at the cost of your own soul? Here is where psychology intersects with survival. Studies show that rejection lights up the same regions of the brain as physical pain. To be excluded hurts. But the Machiavellian mind flips the equation. They use that pain as armor, not chains. They understand that standing alone is not death. It is freedom. Quantum physics whispers the same lesson. Systems shift when a single particle refuses to align. One anomaly can collapse a pattern. One refusal to conform can reshape the field around it. You do not become powerful by begging for a seat at the table. You become powerful by realizing you are the table. So burn this truth into your mind. Belonging that requires you to betray yourself is not belonging at all. It is slavery. When you stop craving the tribe begins to crave you, because nothing is more magnetic than the one who does not need to be chosen. Now you see them. 3 weaknesses that mark you: the hunger to be understood, the habit of bowing too low, the desperation to belong. They are not sins. They are not crimes. They are simply cracks in your armor. Cracks the world has learned to exploit. But here is where your story changes. Awareness is the first blade that cuts the chain. Once you name the weakness, it can no longer hide in the shadows. Once you see the pattern, it begins to lose its hold. Think of the first time you realized a magician's trick. The spell was broken. You could never look at it the same way again. Power works the same way. The moment you see the invisible strings, the moment you recognize the quiet manipulations, you begin to unweave them. Still, awareness alone is not enough. You must train your instincts to stop bleeding power in silence, to stop handing yourself away in tiny, unseen gestures. This is the Machiavellian shift. To move from prey to predator, you must rewire the very impulses that once betrayed you. Instead of over-explaining, you practice restraint. You let silence do the heavy lifting. You learn to say less, not because you are empty, but because you are full. Full enough not to spill. Instead of excessive humility, you cultivate presence. You hold your head high. You let your body declare what your words do not need to. You bow only when strategy demands, not because fear commands. Instead of craving belonging, you master solitude. You learn to walk alone without trembling. And when the group senses you do not need them, something strange happens. They begin to need you. This is not theory. Neuroscience confirms it. Studies show restraint creates curiosity. Presence generates respect. Independence breeds influence. The very brain chemistry of those around you bends when you embody these shifts. And in the quantum field, energy responds the same way. The less you chase, the more gravity you develop. The less you collapse into weakness, the more probability bends in your favor. Reality itself begins to orbit your strength. Feel the shift. Imagine yourself in a room where you once felt small, but this time you do not explain. You do not bow. You do not chase. You simply exist, unshaken, unbent. Watch how the room recalibrates around you. This is not arrogance. It is not cruelty. It is simply alignment, the alignment of power reclaimed. And from this alignment, something new begins to awaken. Power is not an accident. It is built quietly. Brick by brick, gesture by gesture. The predator does not rise by chance. They rise because they understand the architecture of perception. They know that people do not follow the strongest, nor the kindest, nor even the most intelligent. They follow the one who feels inevitable, and inevitability is an illusion you can craft. Think of a mountain. It does not move, yet it commands. It does not chase, yet all rivers flow around it. That is the essence of power, unmoving, unshakable, present. The Machiavellian mind studies this. It learns to shape the atmosphere around itself, to bend the unseen currents of respect and fear without lifting a blade. And it begins with mastery over your 3 former weaknesses. When you no longer need to be understood, your words carry weight. Because every time you speak, people know you could have stayed silent. They lean in, desperate to catch what little you give. When you shed the chains of excessive humility, you no longer vanish. You take up space. You are seen. You declare your existence without apology. and those who once overlooked you now hesitate before crossing you. When you rise above the desperation to belong, you become magnetic. Because people sense the paradox, you are within reach, but never in need. And what is not desperate always draws the desperate closer. This is the architecture of power, not dominance by force, but dominance by gravity, by the subtle, invisible strings that rearrange a room when you enter. Pause here. Let the vision sharpen. Imagine yourself in conversation. You do not chase to be understood. You do not bow to be liked. You do not beg to belong. Instead, you hold steady. And in that steadiness, watch how others recalibrate. Their tone softens. Their posture shifts. Their attention anchors to you, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. Neuroscience again confirms this. Mirror neurons in the brain cause people to unconsciously copy the energy of those around them. If you radiate desperation, they feel dominant. If you radiate calm presence, they feel drawn, unsettled, intrigued. And quantum physics echoes the same. Your energy collapses probability. The more unwavering your frequency, the more reality bends to it. Chaos conforms to certainty. This is what Machiavelli knew but never said aloud. The most dangerous power is not the sword. It is the silence that bends the swords of others before they ever strike. You do not announce power. You emanate it. To wield power outwardly, you must first confront the predator within. For every weakness you shed, for every chain you break, a shadow rises to take its place. The hunger to be understood becomes the temptation to manipulate. The rejection of false humility becomes the lure of arrogance. The strength to walk alone becomes the danger of isolation. Power corrupts not because it is evil, but because it is raw. It awakens the primal in you, the wolf that has slept beneath your ribs, and once awake, it hungers. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He knew that men are not ruined by their enemies, but by themselves, by their inability to master the very forces they unleash. To defeat the predator outside, you must first tame the predator within. This means balance. Precision, the art of knowing when to strike and when to withhold, the mastery of silence without cruelty, of presence without pride, of solitude without exile. Consider the sword. In the hands of the undisciplined, it is reckless, wild, destructive. But in the hands of the master, it is precise. One cut is enough. Power is the same. Neuroscience has a name for this balance: emotional regulation. The ability to feel deeply, but not to be owned by those feelings. To let anger rise without letting it rule. To let fear whisper without letting it chain you. The brain rewires itself each time you resist the impulse to overreact. Each time you choose presence over panic. Slowly, you carve neural pathways of mastery. Quantum physics speaks in parallel. The observer collapses reality not by chaos, but by focus. A disciplined focus turns possibility into certainty. An undisciplined one scatters into noise. So here is the hidden truth to become untouchable. You must not only cut away your weaknesses. You must also guard against your shadows. For what good is it to conquer the world if you are devoured by your own hunger? Pause here. In the silence. Ask yourself, do I crave power to protect myself, or do I crave it to dominate others? The answer will shape the architecture of your destiny. Because true strength is not the absence of shadow. It is the ability to walk with it, hand in hand, and still choose control. The world divides itself into three kinds of people. Those who wander blind, those who are devoured, and those who awaken. You are no longer blind. You are no longer prey. You have seen the invisible game, the way weakness paints a target on your back, the way predators circle those who explain too much, bow too low, and beg too often for belonging. You have named these chains, and in naming them, you have begun to break them. But now comes the final step: embodiment. Knowledge alone does not protect you. It must be woven into your breath, your walk, your silence. It must seep into your very aura. Until you do not act powerful, you are powerful. And how does that happen? By living in alignment. Every time you resist the urge to over-explain, you reinforce your mystery. Every time you stand tall instead of shrinking, you broadcast strength. Every time you choose solitude over desperate acceptance, you expand your gravity. These are not isolated moments. They are signals, and the world cannot resist a consistent signal. In time, you stop chasing. You stop pleading. You stop kneeling. And something profound occurs. People recalibrate around you. Conversations shift. Opportunities open. Respect flows not because you begged for it, but but because you no longer need it. This is the paradox of power. The less you seek it, the more it seeks you. The less you hunger for approval, the more approval arrives. The less you collapse into weakness, the more untouchable you become. Neuroscience calls it coherence, the state where your mind, body, and energy align. Quantum physics calls it resonance, when your frequency stabilizes so completely that reality itself conforms to it. Machiavelli called it fortune, the moment destiny bends to the one bold enough to seize it. But call it whatever you wish. The truth remains, when you embody this alignment, you become inevitable. Pause now. Breathe. Imagine yourself walking through life untouchable. You speak when it matters, and silence carries the rest. You bow when it is strategy, not when it is fear. You belong to no one, and so everyone is drawn to you. This is not arrogance. This is not cruelty. It is freedom. Freedom from the hooks of the manipulator. Freedom from the cage of your own weakness. Freedom from the endless chase to be seen, to be validated, to be loved by those unworthy of your essence. Machiavelli would remind you the world is not kind. You do not need kindness. You need strength. And strength, once embodied, makes you untouchable. The predators will still circle. The game will still play. You will no longer be their prey. You will be the one they fear to touch.